This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be doing someone who people have been asking for a lot, Keanu Reeves. So we're going to use Linda Barrens Temperament and Interaction style combined with cognitive functions, and we're going to figure out his type. We'll start with this interview here. We'll get into it. And you guys want to stay towards the end because we're going to be breaking down his Enneagram, and I believe that Enneagram is probably the most important thing out of the two. If I was able to get someone's Enneagram or get somebody's MBTI, I'd rather know the Enneagram than the MBTI, because you can have somebody who has an MBTI of an INTJ and be a fucking 4, okay? Or you can have an INTJ who's a 5, or Rudy Giuliani a 1, okay? So you're all over the place. But if I can get that Enneagram, I can get a lot of power from that. But if I can get both, I got predictive power at that point. So that's why we believe Enneagram and MBTI is important. I think if you're looking for self-development or trying to figure out ways to take your life to the next level, I would stick more into the Enneagram route. That's just me personally. Okay, I am an 8W7 sexual. That's what I would go under the branch of 8W7 sexual. So it's very important. Let's get into this.
My mother and father were like 22.
And we are still doing free typing sessions. All you have to do is join our Facebook group and our Discord group and message our moderator Cody, and we'll get back to you with our availability. And like we said, man, who's out here giving free Enneagram and typing sessions? You can't get that nowhere, and that's fucking free. Okay, some people are charging hundreds of dollars for this. We're doing it free. So line up and get those while you can, because it will end soon.
21, 22. My father was there. He had gotten, I actually don't really know his stories. I think it's like he was in college and then left.
All right, so off rip, we go to the metrics here. Keanu Reeves is coming off very passive in this conversation. He's kind of like taking a kind of weak stance when he talks. It's not really strong like a direct person where he's just choosing his role. We're gonna keep watching.
And then was in Beirut on the beach. My mother, English, ran away from home. Paris, working, showgirl.
It almost sounds like he's talking away from the mic when he talks, okay? He's coming off informative.
But then also picking up pins in couture houses, getting into fashion, where she would end up becoming a fashion designer, clothing designer for musicians, Anne Murray, Dolly Parton. But anyway, so they met, they fell in love, then they had a baby. That was me. And then they stayed there for a few months, and then they ended up going to Australia. And there's a bunch of stuff in there, but that's the big picture. And then we went to, then they split up. We went to New York, and then I ended up in Toronto.
So it was
Canada.
Beirut, Sydney, New York, Toronto. And Sydney was only like what, 6 years or 4 years? Or?
Oh, not even.
Not even.
Yeah, my sister was born there.
Gave extra information. My sister was born there.
Yeah, so that might have been months or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Months or something. See how he's talking? This is not direct language here. So that's one of the metrics you want to look at very quickly. Is this person direct? Are they informative? Are they kind of passive? Like passive aggressive? Like he's talking away from the mic. He's not just up in there. It's not like specific, concise, and to the point. It's kind of just like almost like he's a damn surfer or something.
And then you came to New York, and your mom was involved with some type of, was it a producer, or there was a guy who was in the theater there, or not?
Right, so then she met someone, and this gentleman named Paul Aaron. They got married. I think they were married for like 6 months or something like that. And Paul was directing Broadway, ended up working in Hollywood.
And you kept some contact with Paul during and then after?
So he was around for a
friends?
few years, and then
I'm hitting it for informative. Yeah, he's informative. He's getting hit with informative. Okay, so Keanu Reeves is informative, guys. So with him being informative, INFP from Personality Database has him as an INFP. That is still on the board. INFPs are informative, so that's still on the board. With him being informative, that does eliminate all of the direct types. These types are eliminated now because he's informative. Okay, so let's go and circle that. He's informative. Sound like a damn surfer. So with that being said, let's go to the chart here. Okay, so all of the direct types are eliminated. So that means INFJ, ENFJ, INTJ, ENTJ, ISTJ, ESTJ, ISTP, and ESTP are eliminated. If you want this chart, just join our group. It's in the I think it's in the pinned comment or the pin. There's two of them. One that's a little bit easier to follow, and this one I like this one because it's a little bit more colorful. But yeah, so we're down to those 8 types. So what we're gonna be looking for now is the outcome or progression. If he's outcome, then he's background. If he's progression, then he's initiating. So if we see initiating or responding, we'll also know. And we'll go from there.
And yeah, stay in contact, and it's kind of really part of one of the other introductions into show business. I was a PA on one of his movie of the weeks when I was like 15. I wanted to become an actor from when I was probably around 15. I was like, I asked my mother, is it okay if I'm an actor? And she was like, whatever you want, darling. So thanks for that, Ma. And then, so eventually then I started working, and then...
I did this, I did that, I did this. This is SI, this is SI, this is first person. This is not SE, this is all first person.
And, got a green card, and then at 20, got in my car and drove to Hollywood.
Right. And then from there, it was a series of projects, starting with which one was the first one out. Was that in when you got to Hollywood?
I think the first job, I was here for a while.
Was it Youngblood? Was it in 86?
Yeah, so Youngblood was the first 35mm picture. And that was in Toronto, Canada. I was doing a play.
See, that's extra information there. It's informative.
With a fine actor, a gentleman named Carl Marat.
He's name dropping. All right, so when people start name dropping a lot, they generally tend to be TE users. My cousin, he's an ESFP. I swear to God, he name drop a motherfucker so quick, make your head spin. But usually TE users gonna name drop. TI users generally don't do that. So we gonna hit him for TEFI there.
And he was having an audition for this American film. American movies were coming into Canada for even then tax credit.
So he's talking about the interest of why those movies were coming in, and that was for the tax credit. So we're gonna slap him for our interest, okay?
He was a hockey-related film.
You played hockey at LaSalle College in Toronto, right?
Not college. It was De La Salle is high school.
High school, okay.
Yeah, I went there for 1 year.
You were a goalie, apparently.
I was. I played net I was the senior goaltender. Yeah.
And your nickname was the Wall. Is that correct?
Yeah. Sometimes it was the Broken Wall. But I had a pretty good run there for a little bit. After Youngblood, so the first job I got in Los Angeles was a project called I don't know what it ended up being called.
Wasn't River's Edge, was it?
No, it was a television film. I got to work with Andy Griffith.
That's another drop, Andy Griffith.
His alcoholic son.
But it wasn't Wolfboy in Toronto, because that was before.
Yeah, Wolfboy was the play I was doing.
Yeah, right.
And so it was exciting times because I got to Los Angeles and
it's the mid '80s now, right? Oh, we got a mic issue there. Let's see if we can.
It's broken.
It's broken. Oh, here we go. We have a.
How about that? That worked. I think we're good.
There we go. Feeling good. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So then so you ended up working on a.
Yeah, it was cool. It was it was Yeah, it was great. I mean, working with Andy Griffith was amazing. Season Hubley was, and you know, it was it was my first gig. I made my first friend.
I made my first friend. I made my first gig. That's all. That's all, man. First person.
On the show, and you know, I had great scenes. You know, got to be the alcoholic son. Go to the cemetery.
You see this?
Winter.
I got to do this. I got to do that. This guy's SINE.
All the cotton balls making the snow with the gun and the flask and
Very cool. Yeah.
and getting to, you know, pretend,
Yeah.
you know, that it's and play.
Yeah.
So
And you had a little ramp up before coming to Hollywood prior to that in Toronto, but it was like there were a series of things that happened in Canada before you came to LA, right? Like you did a little theater and you did a little television, National Film Board.
yeah. So
apparently you worked at the
like I was
CBC
saying,
at
I was
some
really
point.
self motivated. So I was taking classes, doing some Uta Hagen, respect for acting. You know, I really enjoyed the Shakespeare in high school, so I got involved with a Jewish community center that had a drama program.
Got involved with the Jewish community. I'm gonna say that's affiliative.
Run by the remarkable Rose Dubin, and I ended up playing Mercutio in a production of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
One of the other actors had an agent. They asked if I had any representation. I said no. And so that's really where the professional thing started. They were my first job as a paid actor was a local television show called Hanging In.
Hanging in, yeah.
And I think I had one line, "Where's the bathroom?" or something like that. Got introduced to the wardrobe racks. Like, okay, here are your choices. Find your wardrobe, and that was a cool thing. You know?
Yeah.
It was I think it was 3 camera.
Yeah.
And so getting into the professional of it. I was doing ended up doing some improv work at Second City.
Right, because Second City is based in Toronto. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I did some
all those guys.
Some of that. I did a year at a performing arts high school. Then they didn't let me back for the second year, and that's when I went and played hockey at De La Salle. And that's where I did my first high school play. Was at Dell. Got to play John Proctor in the Crucible.
Wow.
It was cool.
All right, man. He's SINE. He's all first person. He's all first person. So like the difference between SI and SE. SE usually reference people like third person. It's gonna be more outwardly. Then inward, as in the SI users usually gonna be like referencing like their own personal experience a lot. So you'll see that, and that's all he's talking about here. That's all he's talking about. So he's SINE. So with that being said, that eliminates a lot of types. Him being informative and SINE, we're down to 6 types, I want to say. We got the SFJs are still on the board. So we got the SFJs, we have the NTPs are still on the board, and the NFPs. Those are still on the board. Whether it be ENFP or INFP, ENTP or INTP, ESFJ and ISFJ. Those are still on the board because he's SINE. The SFPs are eliminated because they're SE.
Good night. Seeing the fellas from the team in the front rows coming out, playing John Proctor, because it is my name, because I cannot have another.
And all your hockey team was there?
Yeah, it was really cool. Because there was I guess then I'm 17.
Right.
And I'd been doing commercials. I'd done a cornflakes commercial, did a Coca-Cola commercial, and that's and then knowing that that's where I learned, like, okay, don't have an audition before 11 a.m. because I'm just not gonna get it. I'm not a morning guy. Anyway, and
do not have one before that's the outcome. Before 11 a.m.
Yeah, don't send me on an audition for a commercial for something like if I didn't like the product.
And that's a hint for laziness. Okay. The reason why I do that is because if you can find someone's sin you can actually find their Enneagram. That's the reason why I actually missed. Myron's. In the video I got him for 8W7, but he's actually a 6W5, and what that does is the sin for 6 is fear, but Myron's a counter, and when you're a counter, you go against the sin, so he turns his fear into something positive. So that was the big trick around Myron, and why I actually got it wrong, because it can actually seem like an 8, but it's really not. 8s are easy to identify because you could just tell an 8. You can just tell their presence. You can just tell them off rip. Like Donald Trump's an 8. Arnold Schwarzenegger's an 8. You can just tell.
I wouldn't go on the audition.
Right. Fantastic. I love it. So, and there was a guy called Erwin Stoff.
Yeah. So
tell me more about Erwin.
Was took me on as a manager. He was connected to Paul Aaron's entertainment company in Los Angeles called L's Boy.
Giving so much extra information.
Yeah.
Killing me.
It keeps falling.
Yeah, I think we want to tighten this, and
well, it keeps sinking.
It sinks, yeah. Does that feel good? Everybody? Is that going to drop? Hopefully not. So we're back to he was connected to Paul. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Erwin Stoff, and then he became sort of...
Yeah, he was my manager.
He was your manager when you came to LA.
So I was doing stuff in Toronto.
I was doing stuff. Aside.
Erwin was my manager, and then when I was making the move to Los Angeles, I met with a remarkable agent in person, Hildy Gottlieb at ICM. And
that's more TE name drop.
She's like, you seem like a good kid, but you need to have a little more on your resume for me to represent you. And then I got a break with another American production that was filming in Toronto, and I ended up getting one of the co-leads in that, called Young Again. So then that allowed me to, I guess, have enough of a resume so that when I came over, Hildy Gottlieb represented me.
And this was now starting in Canada or already in LA by now? This is in
I
Toronto.
met her, and then I was in Toronto, but then I did some more work in Toronto. I did that show, and then that kind of coincided with
first person.
Now I have a green card. Now you can come to
LA. Yeah. And you drove across country apparently in a 1969 Volvo.
Yeah, my first car. Yeah,
Fantastic.
British Racing Green.
Okay, he's responding. Okay, he's responding. He's not initiating. I was trying to see if he was going to be initiating or not to kind of help there. But he's responding. So he is introverted. So with that being said, we are down to the I's of these types. Okay. So, yeah, we're down to the I's of this type. Okay. If he's a TI user, he's one of these two, ISFJ or INTP. If he's a TE user, he can only be an INFP, okay, because he's a foreman, he's SINE, with that and responding. So, ISFP is SE, so that's already off the board. So, if he's a TE user, he's INFP.
I had bought it from a friend of my mother's, and it was pretty beat up. There were holes in the floor. I think one of the seats was kind of supported.
See all this extra information he's giving?
Supported by a brick. But yeah, it was
good times.
4-speed. Yeah, and one of the windshield wipers. It was dangerous. It was a dangerous car.
So he's reminiscing on the past there. Seems quite happy about that. That's SI.
It was fun.
Sound like SI child. Sound like SI
It
child.
got me to Los Angeles.
Yeah. And then in '86, River's Edge happens. Now, tell me about how that all came together.
So that was auditioning.
Yeah.
And
bit of a break at that time, or is that, or?
I really feel like everything is everything's
there was a break. Yeah, exactly.
Any opportunity you get, So absolutely, River's Edge. was a great role, and what an amazing script. Neil Jimenez and Tim Hunter.
Name dropping more.
And then getting to work with
Amazingness,
Chris
FI.
It was really cool to do that audition, and then, you know, to talk about the project with Crispin. He was living in Hollywood. And so then we went up north and we filmed that. And yeah, it was pretty well critically received. And that certainly
Critically received, talking about reputation, that's TFI.
It was like, okay, now I can do something with you.
And did that jump and lead to the first Bill and Ted in the late '80s, or where there was a lot of stuff in the middle?
Well, another kind of, for me, a pivotal show, just in terms of being of working, was a film called The Night Before. Where the director was Tom Eberhardt, and that was like a lead, lots of nights, like carrying a picture. Lori Loughlin, got to work with her, and
Well, you love name dropping.
do some comedy, some drama, and it was a really great experience just to you know, be there every day, do all the hours, you know, acting,
Right.
and just what it took and what it meant to, you know, to do that.
And then in '91, how did you collide with? Because you've got so many pieces to your life. You've got acting, motorcycling, martial arts, and music, and you were playing in Dog Star. Is this starting already in the early '90s, right?
Yeah. So
How did that come together?
was let's see. So I was I stayed with my stepfather. Then I did that Adult Children's of Alcoholics, I think it was called, the working title. Then I met a friend, and she had a friend who was looking for a roommate. So then I ended up moving in with her friend as a roommate, and so. But then I did some work, and so then I was going to rent a house, and so I ended up moving into Beechwood Canyon. It was a cool little pad, and this is eventually going to connect to Dog Star.
To Dog
which is
Star.
the name of the band. So,
Yeah, no, I'm fascinated.
so then I was also playing hockey in Los Angeles, and then there was this
cool.
guy in the local grocery store at the bottom of the hill, and he was wearing I think it was a Detroit Red Wings shirt or something. And I was like, "Do you play hockey?" He's like, "Yeah, you play hockey." And then it was like, "Let's do a pickup game or whatever." But anyway, he turned out to be a musician as well as an actor, and so we started a friendship. And then eventually, he had a friend, Greg Miller, and then we started to jam at my house, and eventually once you start writing songs, you go, well, then we should play live, and so began the Dog Star.
The Dog Star era, yeah. Yeah, so you played for a while doing that. It was like, but you were doing it concurrent to everything else, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
it
if we're
wasn't
gonna
like a
do
break
that,
away.
yeah, I mean, you know, we were a bar band, but we wanted to, you know, have some life experiences. So we did a tour of the States. We ended up touring the States 4 times. We went to Japan 5 times.
Oh wow.
Went to Europe once. But yeah, so sometimes I would do a film, and then I'd come back, and then we'd go on tour. You know, I think even while I was doing The Matrix, they came to Australia, and we did a couple of shows with Bon Jovi. We were the
Name dropping Bon Jovi, look at him.
first
He's a name
act of
dropping
3,
animal.
so we played in the daytime.
Wow.
And then to a few folks, they were really sweet people. They were nice to us, and that was fun. Yeah, so working, playing in a band.
And you did at that time during the time that you were doing Matrix, did your fascination with martial arts and doing what you would ultimately become huge at, had that started before, or when? How did martial arts enter your life?
I have no martial arts background. Mm-hmm. I think I had one Aikido class or something. So I only know movie kung fu. So yeah, Matrix. I mean, really, the first action was with Catherine Bigelow on Point Break.
Point Break, yeah.
So that's the first time I got to do quote unquote an action movie.
Right.
And go through the training and work with LAPD SWAT. Start working with the weapons, weapon manipulations, and fake fights, which were a lot of fun. Yeah, and then it was Speed. But yeah, and so with the Wachowskis on The Matrix, that was like, okay, so I love the project, love you, and then they were like, oh, by the way, you have to train for 4 months. And I was like, cool, let's do that.
Right.
And so that's where I met Yuan Wu Ping, who's a famous director and action choreographer director.
Famous director. Okay, I'm done here. This guy's TEFI. Okay, he's INFP. With that being said, Keanu Reeves is an INFP. Personal Database got this correct. I think he is actually a so he is a TEFI user. And with that being said, we didn't have to find out that he was abstract or anything because he's responding, he's informative, he's TEFI, and he's SINE, and that leads us straight down to INFP. He's Enneagram 9, which is the hallmark or the stereotype for INFPs, but the usual INFP would be a 9W1. Keanu Reeves is a 9W8. Okay, and I would say that he is most likely the self-preserving. So there's 3 different types of each one. So you have, this is from Beatrice Chestnut. So she has 3 different types of subtypes for each of the enneagrams. She has the self-preserving, she has the social, and she has the sexual. So like I said earlier, I'm an 8W7 sexual. Keanu Reeves is most likely a self-preserving 9, okay? With their sin being laziness. I'll just read a little bit of it. It says, self-preserving 9s tend to be active and intuitive, and they express a kind of subtle strength. This is the most 8ish of the 3, okay? This is the most 8ish. So that makes sense why we were hitting with 9W8. 9 subtype, their sense of inertia with regard to taking action places them firmly in the 9 type, so they're unlikely to be mistaken for 8s, but they do have forceful energy, especially in contrast to the sexual 9, which is much less assertive character. Self-preservative 9s have a stronger presence than the other 2 9 subtype personality, and they can be more irritable and stubborn. It can be very difficult for them to accept that another person is right. This subtype also lives a life of excess more than the other 9s, and while they don't get very angry very often, they can express a fury of peacemaker when they get mad at people who cause problems, okay? So we think he's a self-preserving 9. And we'll read what the 9 is. So the key motivators is to have serenity and peace of mind, to create harmony in their environment, to preserve things as they are, to avoid conflict and tension, to express upsetting problems and demand on them. Okay, so that's gonna be the peacemaker or the mediator. The average one is become self-sufficiating and agreeable, accommodating themselves, idealizing others, and going along with things to avoid conflict. Has a philosophy of life that enables them to be quiet their anxieties quickly, submerge themselves in fulfilling functions for others. In their reaction, they are unresponsible and complacent, walking away from problems and sweeping them under the rug, become passive, disengaged, unreflective, and inattentive. Thinking becomes hazy and ruminative, mostly about their fantasies as they begin to tune out reality, becoming oblivious. So that's them. That's the 9s. He's a 9, so most INFPs will fall in the category of 9. Okay, so he's a 9, but he's a 9W8, and that explains a lot. And it's very important to figure out your Enneagram because if you see a 9W1, he's not going to be the same as this guy. Okay, they're both going to be getting hit by that laziness. Okay, they're both going to be getting hit with that, but this guy's gonna be less lazy. Okay, but so this is Mongolian Mindset, and we are out. You guys have a great day, and like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the Facebook group.